Thanks for staying with us. We have still talking about subsidy issue and the planned NLC strike. We'll be inviting now our next guest, Mr. Taiwo Oyedele. He is the fiscal policy partner and Africa tax leader at PwC, that's PricewaterhouseCoopers. He is an author, keynote speaker, strategist, policy analyst, and commentator on finance. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you very much for having me. Good morning.
Yeah, it's always good to have you. So the whole of Nigeria is talking NLC and subsidy removal. Let me start with your general thoughts on this. How do you think it would affect fiscal planning, especially as with the giants of Africa?
Yes, giants of Africa. So we haven't been able to demonstrate that in concrete terms over the past few years. So oil-producing countries are smiling to the bank. We have the likes of Saudi Aramco declaring record profits bigger than Apple, Google, and Facebook combined. So Nigeria should, be talking about tens of billions of dollars now, but sadly, that's not our story. So which means why that decision may not be the most, friendly or the most expected, it is the right decision, in my view. And therefore, I think going on strike and insisting that government should reverse that decision before you can continue discussing, I think is misplaced. I don't think it's the role of the NLC to dictate policies to government. NLC can go on strike because you're asking for, wage increases or palliative, but not insisting that a policy has to be reversed before you continue your conversation.
Interesting.
So overall, I think the impact on the economy, in my view, would be a very short period of pain, followed by a very long-term period of prosperity that would really touch the lives of everybody. So we should make the sacrifice now.
Wow.
Okay.
So this short period of pain, in concrete terms, what are we talking about? Because for what I can tell you right now is that we know that it costs a lot. Given our minimum wage, most of us may not be able to, afford to move around next month, So that's what I'm seeing. And so I would like to know this period of pain, is it a 4-month period? Is it a 2-month period? And what is the exact pain that Nigerians would have to bear to see the years of prosperity?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So the most apparent pain will be from transportation costs. That's what people feel immediately. But then you also feel that impact in terms of general inflation, which is rise in the prices of goods and services across different areas. I watched on TV a woman who said that she photocopied a document, one page for 20 naira before, but now it's 50 naira. Now, what you're seeing, and that's just one example, what you're seeing is there's an initial overreaction. So my driver, when I went to Abuja a few days ago, said, he was asking the driver of the bus that he took to the office to say, are you trying to collect the extra amount you pay for fuel from just one passenger when you can carry 14? So that overreaction is what we are dealing with now. I'll tell you that the real impact is a lot less than what we're dealing with in these few days after the announcement. So things will stabilize. And when they do stabilize, I expect there should be a marginal increase in inflation, particularly transportation. So that will particularly affect the price of food in urban areas. The impact of this first subsidy in rural area will be almost negligible. You may not even feel it at all because the touch point with petrol is very, very minimal. The reason why the impact will not be as big as people have feared is because a lot of what really impacts our lives, most directly in terms of production, is diesel. Diesel is what they use for factories. In fact, most of the trucks, if not all of them, the trucks that transport food already run on diesel. And we've been lucky that over the past few weeks, couple of months, the price of diesel has been coming down. Yeah. So if government can even save foreign exchange from this petrol, because everybody agreed, including GMP of NNPC, that we don't know what we are consuming. So whatever we save from this subsidy, right, in foreign currency, if you use that to supply the market for importation of inputs.
It's frozen. We're having a bit of
It's like
internet.
very rare for things to come down in Nigeria.
Once
Even
it
if
goes
the
up.
petrol or the diesel comes down, the tomato and pepper,
We'll go up.
no, not even, like, people don't, even tomato and pepper comes down, but goods, the things that you buy, clothing,
Just
all
never.
of those, they don't come down. They just go up and they stay
Is that
up.
based on you?
Chicken.
Is that based on with the people or based on the because
I think
market dynamics? Because if it's about dynamics, it should come down. But with the people always take advantage. You know what? Ah, that's gone up. No, we can't go back. I bought it at dollar price. So we also that factor is also
Everything
there.
is dollar price, even tomatoes.
Yes, everybody will tell you it's dollar price. But you see, so normal. So when we project based on the data we have, we will think it will go down. But in the Nigerian factor, it just never goes down.
Is it back?
Are we back, sir? Hello, are you there? Yeah.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Okay,
good to have
so,
you back. Go ahead.
sir, you know, this pain that we have been analyzing, I'd like your suggestion on how we can all bear the brunt together as one united force so that in a few months' time, hopefully, we'll be able to ease out of it. Yes, I don't see it in weeks, in a few months' time. In the sense that we know that our government is highly subsidized. Most of our government officials do not use their personal funds to buy this. So because what I see is sometimes when we need to bear the brunt, it's usually transferred to the poor and the masses. They are the ones that pay the price while the government is still able to get some of these things for free. So what would you suggest or what advice would you give that if government really wants the people to trust it and, you know, we need to tighten the belt together, what are some of the things that they would have to cut down so that everybody just goes through the pain and ease out into prosperity sometime? Because I don't know when.
Yeah, very good question. So I do think first, just to work based on data and facts. So it is symbolic and it's important as part of leadership for government to try and show that they are prudent and that they are making sacrifices. But I have to tell you that even if everybody in government today decides not to collect 1 naira from government, we will still be a poor country. So that's not where Nigerians' rescue and silver bullets will come from. But I do agree, like I said, it's important for signaling because as a leader, you cannot live at large like everything is normal and then ask your followers to make all the sacrifices. So government needs to do that. And there's a lot of transparency that is required. If you are saving 4 or 5 trillion naira, can we agree, even with the governors, because they'll be sharing from this money, that money has to be dedicated 100%. So those things that are making 133 million Nigerians to be in multidimensional poverty. And we have the data from access to education to basic health care, even clean water they don't have. Can we just focus on that so that the lives of people get better? And we know for those of us, who can afford a little bit more, we know the sacrifices we are making is to help our fellow Nigerians. And then the second part is for individuals to think about a lifestyle change that will help them improve this. When the subsidy on diesel was removed, consumption went down by 50%. Of course, part of that includes smuggling that stopped, right? And I heard someone said, on TV yesterday that this person sells bicycle. They used to sell like 1 a week before. They are selling about 6 a day now. Maybe people have to start thinking about that. Why does my child, school, why is it 40 kilometers from where I live? Why can't I find something nearby? Why do I leave Ikeja to go to church in Ibadan Expressway when there's another one that is next door? So some of these things also require that we think differently. Do I have to put my car on the road every time? Or can we now have investment in public infrastructure that is decent? Public transportation that is decent. You see a CEO in the UK will tell you, I don't have a car, right?
Yeah.
Because the transportation is conducive. Go to Abuja, there's not even public transportation.
sense.
So I'm not saying government should solve all the problems. Some of it is also private sector. These are investment opportunities that people should start thinking about now. And collectively, we can go through this and come out better.
Thank you very much. I mean, you're just saying, because sometimes I'm unable to articulate the thoughts in my head. But when I hear people like you speak, you just help me to properly put it in proper perspective. Because I've always felt that sometimes it seems like we Nigerians, we live beyond our means. Okay, so all your friends have cars. You want to get a car.
Why?
When your office my house, I live exactly 9 minutes away.
Walk?
Really, I have no business having a car. That's the truth. Really, if I want to
Yeah.
be, if I want to be truthful and realistic to
driving your
myself,
car to work.
driving my car to work, I should have a bicycle. Really and truthfully, if I was in a sane, if I was in a sane economy in a sane country, I as a citizen wouldn't even
our
consider.
roads does not
But but listen, you'll be surprised. Eventually, if we get to that point, I will get something smaller to get me to work. Only maybe I'll now drive my car once a week or something. Maybe I need to go to church. Or, then we readjust.
But
The other countries, they are walking. But here we all want to enter cab from point A to point B, just 2 minutes away.
So there's the one I noticed yesterday that many people, we live in an estate. Many people that attend church live within the same estate and they still
Don't
drive
The car to
the car from their house to the church. Number one, some will even use driver to drive them from their house to the church within the same estate. So yes, I love the idea of being practical. We need to do carpooling. We need to plan our pickup from school. We don't need, if there are 3 children living with 3 families in the same estate, you must design a way to, one family picks up the child on Monday, another person on Tuesday, so that we're not driving all the time, planning a way to cut our expenses. Thank you so much.
Sarah, there was a question I wanted to ask you. I hope I've not lost that question. If anybody has any questions?
Yes, please, let me come in with a question. So, there's something you said that struck me. I know that as a country, we can always say that we don't have, Nigeria is not a rich country, Nigeria is not a rich country, but when you said that if all government officials don't take money from government, that the country will still be poor. That one I don't understand.
Please let me explain to her.
I agree.
Please let me even help him. Sir, you know why that is a very important question Tokwe just asked? Because every Nigerian, like 99.99% of Nigerians believe that all our money is in the hands of these 0.00% politicians. So because they feel that way, it's important for you to answer that question very well.
No, so let me put it
carefully.
in a bit of context, sir, because we see politicians that were living in rented apartments before they became local government chairmen. And the moment they become,
They now live in
they buy a car,
mansions.
they buy a house, their children change schools, they start
School
traveling.
abroad.
So their life changes.
Yeah.
So I cannot understand how not giving them money will not change our circumstance as Nigerians.
Let me give you the next 20 minutes to say this. Go ahead, take your time.
Yes. So thank you. I like the way you put it. So there are 2 issues, and I'd like to separate them. One, there's corruption, where you can inflate contracts. You award it for 1 billion, but you only spend 50 million. You keep 950 million to yourself. That's why somebody can buy a house. They're not buying the house from the money they're being paid legitimately, right? So there are 2 issues. The money they are being paid legitimately, that money, I'm saying, they stop collecting it today, and they don't collect 1 naira. The difference will be negligible. The whole of the National Assembly's budget is around 150 billion naira. It's not going to solve Nigeria's problem when you have a deficit at the federal government alone of 11 trillion. I've not even added states and local governments. So, but the one we need to focus on is the corruption, which is why we are the country, and more than half of it is going to private pockets. They have all manners of way of doing it. It's not an SPV, it's one entity somewhere. In fact, they award contract that they had no intention of executing just to make money for themselves. That is the one that is killing us. And that's the one we need to focus on. And that has nothing to do with first subsidy, right? It's a separate conversation, and I think it will be with us for some time because, to be honest, we blame politicians, and I'm not saying we shouldn't blame them for being corrupt, but majority of ordinary people are just as corrupt. Just removing first subsidy alone, people start selling at 650 the next minute. Even though the inventory they bought at 160 something.
Need the people.
So that is the way I'll respond to that.
Thank you, Jerry Ogami. Thank you, but you see, it's important that it's important for us to get. Their salary is not the problem.
We know.
No, we don't know. We always go 30 million naira a month. 30, we come up with these numbers, and people say it about beer parlors with such confidence.
We know.
But I'm saying it's not their salaries. It's the contract they have access to. That's where the corruption is. That we're fighting, not the fact that they're not this amount of money.
And the pensions that they will be getting afterwards. So we know everything boils down together. So we look at what MD CEOs earn in different
private sector and
private sector.
it's times 100
Yes, we cannot compare that because you chose to serve. There's a difference. You would have just become your private person, be your MD, do your own business. That's a different thing. When you choose to serve, you must serve in humility. You must be moderate about it.
Absolutely.
That's what we're saying, because we're not a rich country.
So I think
So you cannot be living like an MD CEO in a
throw in
private
one
company
question?
using government money.
yes,
It's
okay.
not
Let
possible.
me just throw in one. If he's still there, sir, we have the asset declaration form, and we have this Code of Conduct Bureau. And I know that when it comes to accounting, you guys know how to follow the numbers. What can we do in following the numbers better to ensure that how can the government best reduce these leakages?
Yeah, so this asset declaration is something I've been talking about since 1999, actually. Because if you read the Constitution clearly, the asset declaration itself is defective in the way it has been designed.
Oh.
For example, it does not speak to the fact that I can have my house girl or my house boy hold 20 billion I've stolen from government on my behalf. It doesn't even speak to whether I have contingent liabilities. I can make a commitment with the intention of stealing later, right? So it has a lot of loopholes as it is.
Really?
But even if you ignore that moment, even with the loopholes, the little information we are getting from it, we're not using it. And I'll give you a very simple one that is almost, you can't dispute. It's tax compliance. So if you declare today that you are worth 10 million naira, the first thing I should do, which every country will do, is go check their tax record. Did you display this before over the years? How did you accumulate 10 million naira? How much taxes have you paid? Because sometimes it's not about the amount of money you make from these politicians. It's the sense of leadership. Is that tone from the top? Is that moral authority? In addition to the legal power to lead, you control, forces, you can harass people, you can pick them up. You also need to earn that moral authority to lead. That's why if you look at Donald Trump, Google the US president, they not only do the right thing in terms of declaring their assets, paying taxes, they even publish it.
Yeah.
Right? Nobody says there's no law that says publish, but they're saying, well, I'm the most powerful and I'm doing the right thing. Now, let's see the person that has 3 heads not to do the right thing. The Prime Minister of the UK was fined for driving without seatbelts at the back. So this is how societies evolve and develop. Trying to do things and respect process. That is what is missing in Nigeria. They'll declare this asset now and nothing will happen. We'll keep it 4 years, we'll declare again. We like keeping records, not really processing them for meaningful things for the
Very, very interesting. So all this big manism you do, if you're not paying your taxes, really, you're nobody. I mean, many of them half of them are, many of these people, you can argue that they're not
evaluating that.
But they just provide it, and we don't usually get the data. We have numbers, but we don't assess it to be able to have a conclusion to know how to treat these people.
Because we need those loopholes to be able to carry out corruption.
Yeah.
Check it too much.
We have to wrap up, Sarah. Any final words? I didn't ask you about your thoughts on NLC. So we know you've given us all the various angles as regards why this is important for us to actually remove subsidy. But this strike that they are going, this one that electricity workers have said they are going to join in.
I don't want that.
So in your view, just let me hear your thoughts on this strike action. How do you think the government can meet them halfway?
Yes. So I think first I'll say that people need to move away from politicking. We are done with the elections. I know there are cases in court, and courts will do their job. For every day that you wish your country evil in Nigeria, that's equivalent of 10,000 people's life. Their entire life is what you are wasting. So, for example, I don't see why electricity workers want to join the strike and then they want to shut down the grid. What's the connection between that? Why are you shutting down the grid?
She just tell us that they were shutting down the grid.
Yeah, so that's like sabotage. Why is NLC insisting that you have to revert back before they can negotiate? The powers they have is for them to negotiate for their members. And they should feel free to do that. And then we should not end up, at the end of the day, removing one subsidy and negotiating by all means subsidies in other areas that will even be more expensive and get out of hands in the next few years. Nigeria cannot afford that. If this country goes down, like we've seen in Sri Lanka, sometimes in Zambia or what Ghana is dealing with, it will not be able to. No other country will be able to contain us. And this is the time to make the sacrifice and do the right thing for the interest of not only this generation but our unborn generation that will come after us.
Well, thank you very much. We have to wrap up. I know the Vice President told us very clearly that the cabal is very strong, that they're going to fight this. So we're expecting a lot of more. I mean, I'm even happy that it's not as bad as I thought, but hopefully there's some negotiations could be made today, and NLC and TUC and others may be able to shelve their strikes so that we can reach an agreement, because we've all largely agreed that it's time for subsidy to go. However, government must raise the responsibilities to ensure that Nigerians, they alleviate the pain or the shock of this change on Nigerians, so we don't even go further into poverty. Thank you so much, Mr. Oyedele, for joining us this morning.
Thank you, sir.
We really appreciate your insights and thoughts this morning. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
That is all we can take on today's show.